Hello everybody, this is TipTop MTG here today with another MTG Arena gameplay video. In today's video, we are going to be playing some historic and a black and white veto life gain deck. So for those of you who don't know, just last week they added a bunch of new cards to Historic in Jumpstart, and one of those cards was Exquisite Blood. This card basically says whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. And in M21, they printed a card called Veto, and he says whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. I think this is kind of a self-explanatory, infinite combo. You deal a damage, you gain a life. Because you gain a life, you deal a damage, and then that happens infinitely. And so this is what this deck is kind of built around. So it's kind of a mono-white shell, which is already a pretty good deck in Historic. So it just wants to get out Heliod's and a Johnny's Pride Mates and a Johnny, and just ways to gain life. And then it also has a black added to it for a couple of cool cards like Sorin, just to give that life link, and it's definitely not as good as a mono white deck, but it's kind of fun to add that black in there because there are some interesting cards that you can get access to, like Bloodthirsty Aerialist, who costs 3. It's in a Johnny's Pride Mate for 3 in black, but flies. So there's just a lot of really interesting stuff here. So before we can get into the gameplay, I just want to let you know a couple things. First off, if you want to see my deck list, it's in the description down below. Of course, this is really easy to build into any mono white life gain deck. Just add some black and add these 2 cards. They also just work well separately. Having Veto in your mono white life gain deck, assuming you have black mana obviously, isn't going to hurt it. Having Exquisite Blood is not going to hurt it. It's going to help. So just keep that in mind. And obviously you can build this combo into anything. So why don't we jump right into the gameplay? Alright, so getting into this first game, we can see my opening hand here isn't very good. It didn't have it was very slow, and this deck wants to be quick, and if it can't be fast and can't win right away, the idea is that I get to the infinite combo, because honestly, I love playing mono white, but the issue is sometimes my opponent just puts up a good defense that I can't swing into, and I just feel like I'm, hitting a brick wall in terms of being able to progress in the game. So what's nice about the infinite combo is even if it looks like I'm going to lose, it's like I could just pull these 2 cards and win. I totally don't deserve to win, but I can. And so at this point, it's looking like a pretty typical mono-white open, except obviously in my hand I have Bloodthirsty Aerialist and Heliod. I mean, Heliod's pretty normal as well, but so right now it's looking pretty typical. I mean, I have Temple of Silence, which does kind of suck, and honestly, there might be something to say, hey, maybe there should be, no temples and maybe only Shocklands and Checklands. I don't have that big a collection of Checklands, so obviously replace the temples with the Checklands. That'll be much better. They will almost always enter untapped if it's just Temple Shocks and basics, so that's pretty good, but it'll also help speed up the deck. Because there, if it wasn't a tap land, I could have already gone out Heliod or Bloodthirsty Aerialist, which, I mean, at that point would have been bad because he's just banishing lights. But yeah, just Checklands are going to be better than Temples, just so you know. So obviously you might want to mess with the deck list. Also, the deck list isn't perfect. It's just something I've been working with. I plan on fully rebuilding this deck eventually, just with a little bit more concise focus. I actually may make it mono black and just cut out the whole mono white part and just focus on it being a Veto infinite combo. Also, obviously, if you have more copies of Veto or more copies of Exquisite Blood, you might want to put them in the deck, although I think 2 Exquisite Bloods is the right amount, because you don't want to be drawing a 5 mana enchantment. It's just a dud in your hand, because this deck does not get to 5 mana very quickly. It's low on lands purposefully, or lower than a lot of other decks, because it is a rush deck, that's the word, an aggro deck. So here, it's gonna look pretty good. I'm gonna have a 10/10 flyer with lifelink, which is pretty crazy. So at this point, I am threatening lethal if they have nothing they can do. I'm expecting a board wipe, because a board wipe would, I mean, they're playing the right colors, but instead they play the Sanctum, and that pretty much means I win the game. I don't know if they realize it. I assume they do. I assume they're just playing stuff and they want to kill things, but yeah, I would have gotten Loris there, which is pretty good, and just, yeah, so that game went pretty well. Now here you'll notice I have Exquisite Blood, 1/2 of the infinite combo, in my starting hand, which is both good and bad. It's good because even though, like, my primary goal is to win, it's not to get the combo off. Getting the combo off does mean I win, but I'd prefer to draw into Exquisite Blood later. Now, Blood Artist, I believe I've taken out at this point. It's just something I tried in there because it is a life gain trigger. It's half of Daxos, and I was like, well, if I'm playing black, maybe I should try it out. But my opponent just concedes. I don't know, maybe their deck was really slow, but generally what I do is I just film a bunch of games in a row, and so yeah, here we have double Soul Wardens and Heliod, which is really good. And then we pull into Ajani's Pridemate, and I'm like, ooh, this is like the dream of an opening hand minus Temple of Silence. And my opponent pulls out Pack Leader, and I'm like, oh no. This deck runs very, very limited removal. It runs, I'm adjusting the deck occasionally, but I think this game actually made me adjust it slightly, but it's like that thing can't die. None of their dogs can die in combat, and at this point I'm running like 0 removal, so that means they're going to be able to swing at me, and unless I have an equal blocker for every single dog they have, this is not going to go well. My deck likes to get one really big creature, so this isn't, I need to like give it life link immediately. They can swing without any repercussion. The only way that I can maybe kill a dog is if I'm attacking and they have to chump. But then I get Bloodthirsty Aerialist, which is nice. Obviously, it's another blocker, but also it's a flying creature, so that I can get over the dogs that have, vigilance, and just, it's nice. I don't know if attacking was the right move here. White does have a lot of Anthem effects, and I could have been taking a ton of damage, although I think it still would have been the best idea. It is, Pack Leader, at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, I like the cat version better, but I think it's just so much more powerful, and then here I get Exquisite Blood, which is interesting here, but as soon as I play it, they're never going to let me hit with that Ajani's Pridemate, so giving it, Ajani's Pridemate lifelink is more efficient, because it can still, gain life from hitting a creature. But what's cool is if you can give something lifelink and you have Exquisite Blood, you gain double life, just so you know. But yeah, so far it's like I'm gonna lose, except maybe not. If I can gain a bunch of life, which is what my deck wants to do, at this point I start moving my counters over to Soul Warden, which could be considered, a misplay, because I'm about to gain a bunch of life, or like every counter is more life gained with Exquisite Blood. Now here it's like, do I play Exquisite Blood and hope I draw Veto next turn, right? And that would win me the game, or do I just use my mana to give them lifelink, and I would gain, 13 life. And I decide I'm going to swing with both. Obviously, he sacrifices the Selfless Savior. I gain 5, which is enough, and I get enough to comfortably block with Soul Warden. So it's looking like, I'm not dead this turn, but I'll be dead next turn. So obviously, I'm hoping, I need to draw Veto, but then he concedes, which is kind of weird, because okay, yes, I can gain a bunch of life, and I guess I would have given Ajani's Pridemate lifelink. So I don't know if there would have way been a lot of, way for him to come back. But it just seems kind of weird when he was in such a dominant position. So here I'm playing, obviously, mono white, and he is playing Goblins. My hand is looking pretty awesome. I have, Sarah Ascendant, Outset of Life's Bounty, which is just so good. But then he, board wipes me. And that's like, I'm already getting, I'm close to, not dead, but Goblin decks can get very big very fast. They can remove things, and this is an example of a game where I do not do that well. They, use Gem Palm Incinerator to get rid of Blood Artist. I'm like, okay, that's not that big of a deal. And then they use Gem Palm Incinerator to get rid of Sarah Ascendant. I'm like, okay, that's annoying. If I pull black mana, I can get a Bloodthirsty Artist out, be able to block. I get this, and I decide I'm going to shock it in just so I can block the Snoop. And I'm like, okay, so this is going to be fine. And then they play a land. I'm like, oh no. Because guess what? They can go tutor for anything using Goblin Matron. So, they go tutor. Guess what they tutor for? Gem Palm Incinerator. And then they blow up my thing. And it's getting very, very irritating at this point. And so I just can see it. It's like you're blowing up everything. And yeah. So that was just one example of the deck not working. Again, I generally just film these things in order. So every deck is going to lose occasionally. Here I'm playing against an elf deck, which is concerning because they like to go wide. They'll have lots of chump blockers, so that means I need to give my thing either protection from green or whatever. But what is nice is if they are in mono green, once my stuff gets big enough, it's going to be very difficult for them to take it down unless they get out a Death Toucher, then Force Fight, but that's a lot. I know there are Death Touchers in Elves, especially that new one from Jumpstart. But here, they're ramping like crazy. They can turn them all into 5/5s very quickly. So then I get out Ajani, and I'm hoping that they don't see it as too big of a threat, and that they're just like, I need to go for the kill, because I'm a fast deck. They just want to kill me quickly. But Ajani will not only give me Ajani's Pridemates, but he will also give me life, and he will also give me, if I manage to get it to 35 life, basically the win. Because it's an asymmetrical board wipe, and I'm playing against a creature swarm deck, and I'm playing a huge creature deck then. So, it's very likely that if I get up there, I will be able to win. So, you know, I'm able to gain a bunch of life. I'm like counting. I'm like, okay, you know, if I gain 2 life every time Healer's Hawk hits. It gives me 2 counters on a Johnny's Pridemate. Maybe if they mess up and like let a Johnny's Pridemate through, I might be able to like asymmetrically board wipe. But you know, they're dumping their entire hand. They have 1 card, and even if it's Heroic Intervention, by the way, they cannot save it because it's an exile. So here I'm just trying to play as many creatures, gain as much life as possible, so that, you know, I'm at 32, and so I'm like, okay, I gain 2 here. Next turn, if they don't hit me or hit a Johnny, I win. Because, like, I have a 10-10 and a 6-6 flyer. That's enough to, or 6-7 flyer. So they need to hit me. And even then, I'm still hitting them for 7. So they needed to hit me, but they didn't. So I consider it a good game. I play a Johnny's Pridemate, and I board wipe. Now, why? Johnny's Pridemate was a wonderful pull there. And the reason for that is I could have gone up to 35 life by swinging with Healer's Hawk. But the catch is, then I would have already done combat for the turn. Now, here is, by the way, an example of this combo going off. So, you know, this was filmed before I filmed the rest of the video. This was just me. You know, generally, I film my gameplay just as background footage, and so that's what I was doing here. And then I'm like, ooh, wait, I got this off, and I didn't manage to get it off in any of the games I filmed. I didn't manage to get the pieces to meet, but here you'll see how it works. Now, Heliod makes it very annoying because I have to target something every single time. So, you know, here you're dealing damage, gaining life, putting counters, doing all of that, and then you win the game. So, generally, that's how the deck works. It's a lot of fun, and it's not going to be that competitive, and it'll be interesting to see where the historic meta lands, but, you know, infinite combos are always... it's kind of fun. So let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.